Morning cellists! Here we are on our third lesson looking at the Swan this week and Feuillard's study number 13. Now today I was thinking of a little technical warm-up that would be something a bit different and helpful and applicable to the Swan in particular. And yesterday I had mentioned about turning things around, don't always start from the bottom, start from the top. And we can also sort of actually put our focus on, a specific portion of an arpeggio or scale. It needn't be the whole geographic compass, it could be a specific octave. And that's what I propose doing today. So what I have in store for you is just a little made up play on a pattern, taking from the harmonic octave A here to the open A. And we're just going to play with filling in little patterns to make arpeggio shapes there. So we'll start, it's all going to be about the first and fourth fingers in different pattern shapes up and down the string here. We'll start off with A minor, like so. And then we'll move to A major. So obviously I've moved my hand in from a stretch to a close. Direct linkage there would be that yesterday we finished the Swan in bar 13 with is exactly that stretch that I've just shown you in the A minor arpeggio fragment. So we've got A minor, A major. Then we'll take the same hand shape that was closed, but we'll shunt forward a semitone and create D minor. Then guess what? We're going to keep the first finger on the D, stretch for D major. And then to finish it off harmonically, pleasingly, we'll take fourth position 4 and 1, giving you a G and an E, which gives you an implied A7 dominant 7th kind of chord, and hence I'm finishing on the harmonic D to make it feel like it's got a completion. So just to recap that, we can take this in a 6/4 time, like so. Nice and simple and correlates to our work of the week. I would like you to add in a little extra. Let's bring into that fairly obvious set of arpeggios an augmented one. And that's going to kind of bridge a gap between the two types of character there. So the notes we require are the A, the F natural and a C sharp. Gorgeous and very much in keeping with our sort of whole tone implements that we have been looking at in the last couple of weeks. So we could fit that in between A major and D minor, so that on your thinking plan we have initially thinking about the fourth finger being in common here. I'll come back to the same note but close my hand. This next time I'm going to be thinking about my first finger staying put but stretching from it. Then I'm going to be thinking about my fourth finger staying put and I'll close my hand. The first finger stays put and I stretch. Ta-da! So all together, let's see what it sounds like put together. Now don't worry if you're thinking, oh dear, what are those notes, and trying to scribble them down on your manuscript paper. I have prepared something earlier and here it is. So here is on the screen the very notes that I've been playing, including that augmented arpeggio, which is in the third bar there on the second line. And as you notice, a little duplet at the end there because I've written it in 6/4 to match the Swan. Now our sort of second companionable technical, again, is about left hand shapes, because I feel that this week that's a really useful focus, thinking about telescopic hand movements and shifts, and of course the Feuillard study is all about the shifts. So I was thinking we would take the same idea, starting on the G string, and this time from the lower note, just up and down the G string. Now this time it's just going to be using triadic shapes, so we're not going to rise to the final A at the top. We're just taking the 3 notes that creates the harmony. So this would be A minor, the first 3 notes, like so. I've shifted to a C and stretched, and then next time I'll go to C sharp. Then this time I'll go to C sharp, but I'll stretch to make it augmented. Then I'll go next to a D. I've gone to a D, but I'll stretch. Now I'm going to go to an E. I'm going to finish it off with a bit of an A major implication. And finishing down on my keynote of D. Again, so you don't have to worry about remembering it or rewinding this video, I have quickly written that out as I thought of it this morning. There it is, nice and straightforward. But it complements very nicely the upper register version, because obviously they're exactly the same chords, but one set are falling and rising in 6/4, and the other are rising and falling in 4/4. One other little thought on those explorations is you might find it quite useful to omit the top harmonic A initially when you're trying to get the fingers to feel comfortable about where they are. So you could try this. Or something like that. You know, just thinking about ways that you can feel connectivity, just take out one of those shift points, which is to the harmonic A. And that should consolidate the feeling of where the hand is and how the shapes are moving. It's very much like a Feuillard study of our own making. Speaking of which, let's have a little look at the third part of this Feuillard study number 13. Now we're really getting into a very muddy sounding portion of the study. And it's not just about the register, because we are going to be moving up and down the G string and up and down the C string, but there's also something terribly uncomfortable about the implied harmonies, and it does seem to growl about the place. There's lots of little chromaticisms, but also within there are a lot of perfect fourths and diminished fifths. There's also quite a number of inarticulate shifts, and altogether it's not orally all that satisfactory, but bear with it as being a very useful tool. We've got to try and make it sound better than it really is. So we've arrived at an F in bar 17, and then we'll just be going up and down in a kind of chromatic wandering fashion. So far, let's have a little look. That's all the G string work there. So the things to notice in bar 18, inarticulate shift going backwards against gravity. You need a little bit of work there, get that elbow ready. The following bar is a really grotty one. You're going back for 3/3, then up 4/4. And in fact, that particularly, oddly enough, that 4/4 really is quite hard to get that clean. A good rise of the arm, I think, really helped there to kind of try and eradicate that glissando moment. And then in bar 19-20-21, we have an awful lot of third finger. Every single note in this bar is a third finger, like this. So we have inarticulate shift, then hop across, and another inarticulate shift. So we've gone full circle. It's quite nice, actually. That's absolutely fine, and I think that's probably the implied solution. But we could just think momentarily about our Swan perfect fifths, where we're looking at immaculate legato by choosing 2 fingers side by side. And we could potentially do that in this bottom part here, which will give us a real nice smoothness across the string, and then give us an articulate shift going up the register. I think both are rather worth exploring. You need to be able to be very adaptable and make anything convincing. And those are 2 different techniques that we're looking at there. having arrived in 4th position on the C string, we continue with the growly stuff. So far fewer inarticulate shifts in here. We have 1 in bar 25. 4 to 4 coming back like that. The other little thing that's just a point of interest is in bar 22 from an E natural to an A flat. It's actually, oh, isn't that lovely? It's actually a diminished 4th, but it sounds like a major 3rd. Although it doesn't arrive there. And then if you have a look at the end of bar 25, it is written as a G sharp this time and rises, which gives you some clue as to why a composer might write what might apparently sound like the same note in a different way. One is implying E major with an arrival at an A minor chord, and the other is not. I'm just trying to think what it does. Maybe it's like a flattened submediant into C. I haven't really thought about it, but it does definitely resolve down. The A flat is implying a fall to the G. There we have it. Just quite a growly set of bars. Let's just try the whole lot then. Remembering that really our aim is trying to get nice clean shifts and seem terribly smooth and relaxed, and as if we like the slightly uncomfortable sounds that we're hearing. Sound like maybe kind of a little bit lost in the forest and we're trying to wonder where we're going. Luckily it will resolve in a nice comfortable certainty in the final phrase, which we'll look at tomorrow. Right, let's look at today's fragment of the Swan. So we yesterday arrived at this lovely extension, and you may as well just leave your little finger there to begin the next phrase so that nothing is disturbed. Now this next couple of phrases are a superb moment to really start to bring a much more exaggerated phrase shape. So we're going to be rising up to the F natural. Let's just try it out. An A minor implies harmony here. Now, so the things in there, as you might have heard, actually that open A didn't come out terribly well, and it is of course something that needs a bit of care. So ideally actually you want to just tip your hair over a fraction to the flat for the open A. Now at this point, as we drive into the heel, you can allow the crescendo, and your solutions could be, because we're going to separate these quavers, you could have 4-1-3, but be clean with the shift. You know, we've been working on this in the Feuillard, so you could work really hard on that. Or you could change to 3rd position and have an inarticulate shift here. Because you're changing the bow, you can create a good articulation anyway. And then maybe something in that feels a little bit more connected, a little bit more passionate or emotional, that kind of contact with the string as you slide to the F sharp. So either is fine, whatever you're comfortable with. And then the bar 15, this long notes, make sure you save the bow, and the saving can be by bringing the speed down and adding a little pressure, move a tiny bit towards the bridge. And of course, go to the flat of the hair, definitely for the 2nd note. And we do want to arrive right at the point, which would be a full right arm extension there. Think of Madame Sougia. And this means that you can then begin the next phrase on an up bow instead of a down, and we can be far more fragile. I think, you know, bring in some real difference here. So we've come back real quiet. A little bit of optimism, yes, a bit of A major for a moment. And notice I did not try to push all the way back to the heel on that up bow. I think, you know, keep it really subtle and gentle, fragile, and then push. So we'll try this again. So you can see in there, this time I'm slurring those two quavers, so they will certainly want to be a 1-3 solution. So it's like letting go of something, pushing that emotional response out. It's allowing itself out, and then it gets curtailed almost immediately as we arrive on the F sharp. So looking at that second phrase again, we have fragility, keeping the upper half of the bow. Push. And you may slow up the speed here. 2, 3, and obviously I should have been 4, 5, 6, truly. But whichever way works for you, but make sure that you actually just don't be in a rush to the recap there. It's perfectly permissible musically, even though it's not written in the score, or at least not this score. And then we've come, as we know, to the recap. And this recap, very much like the opening, don't try and do anything special with this, but we'll change the bowing at bar 20. So as per the opening, let's have the F sharp. More bows this time. Now I'm not going to continue with the B at that point, we've got some special work to do on that tomorrow. Just thinking about what I've played there, so I think that the return, I think, can be extremely gentle and kept back. I mean, in actual fact, looking at this score, which is not my usual one to look at, there isn't a crescendo written in bar 20. But I quite like the fact that we kept the lid on it at bar 4, and that we can allow ourselves some sort of a rise, and then we're going to have a very dramatic crescendo in bar 21, which we'll look at the solution tomorrow. We're only looking at small snippets to try and fit this over for lessons, which will give you plenty to think about anyway. So that's all we have really. Let's just try it from bar 14 then. That's going to be tomorrow's fun and games. But you get some idea and flavours of the kind of variety, because I'm not actually playing it the same every time, and we kind of know what things might work for us and go with the flow of your feeling at your performance point. That's really important. Trust yourself. You can do the work, think about some of the technical things like which part of the bow you're in, what works best with a bit of flat hair for open strings. So you know you have control of the sound the way you want it to be. Okay, enjoy that, and I'll see you tomorrow.